Krypton, episode 15, Waiting for Superman. We have reached the end of the Man of Steel, and there are things that need to be said. And there are things that will be said based on findings in this episode, but we will address those things as we go on with the review. And I do have to say that Superman and Lois is still the best superhero TV show out there. And, you know, we'll see how those things change as the changes get made. And because we're getting to season 3. We're basically getting a season 3 because the CW did say that although they were canceling certain shows, they said any show that was already approved of a follow-up season will get their follow-up season, you know, before they get canceled. And Superman and Lois and the Flash, they had already got approved for their, you know, for their next seasons. So that's why we're still going to get a Flash season 9, and why we're still going to get a Superman and Lois season 3. So we can, so the stuff that took place in this episode will progress forward into the next season. So now, in this particular episode, in the final episode, we are at the Kent farm. We're at the Bizarro Kent farm, actually, where everybody's at the farm. And they've been transferred over to the Bizarro world, and they're trying to figure out what's going on, and everybody's freaking out. And then while they're talking and having their conversations and putting their theories together, Clark had noticed, he said that, you know, although we're at the Bizarro world and we're at the Bizarro farm, he said that that's our picture that's hanging up on the wall. There are pictures of, like, you know, of their family that was hanging around. Certain things about their house was still in the Bizarro house. And then Natalie had saw her tablet that was on the table, and she used the tablet to try to find her dad. While they were doing that, they were just trying to figure out, like, you know, what the hell was going on. And then after that, then it ended up like a shift was like happening where, like, people were, you know, going back and forth between the Bizarro world and between the real world. While they were trying to figure out what to do, Tal Rose shows up, you know, because he was just like, oh, I was out searching for family. And then I was transported here to, you know, to this Bizarro land. So now Tal Rose is there. He's having a conversation with the fam, and he's just like, oh, Ali must be stopped, and then by any means necessary, brother, you know, and he's like, I'll do it for you, for Superman. So now Tal Rose decides he gonna fly up into space and try to kick Ali ass with no backup and no fan support. The entire group ended up getting transported back to their world. Everybody got transported back except Lois. Lois ended up being the only one that stayed in Bizarro Land, and then while she was in Bizarro Land, her dad showed up because her dad got transferred to Bizarro Land too. So the two of them decided to go to town and try to find the Bizarro Alley. Meanwhile, everybody else who got sent back to their world, they're trying to figure out what to do. But Tal Rose like, don't worry, brother. He was like, I'll take care of this. And then Tal Rose flies off in order to go rescue Lois. And then Tal Rose flies off to go stop Alley. And then Bizarro Lois comes into the Kent house because she's on, you know, like the non-Bizarro, she's on like our world. And then as soon as Natalie saw Bizarro Lois, then she freaks out, and then she goes running after to go get her suit. And then the boys try to stop her, and they're like, what are you doing? And then she's just like, yo, I gotta go save my dad. And then they have a nice little conversation. You know, she called them her brothers, and then, you know, they gave her a hug. You know, Jonathan said she was family. And then she ended up going to get her suit. And then she went to go get her dad because when she got a hold of her tablet, she started hearing messages from her father, like John was still in the vortex somewhere. So Natalie's on her way to the vortex to go get him. Even her little AI was like, oh, Natalie, she's like, what are we going to do? And she's like, you want to turn this ship on, and you're going to help me go save my daddy. So the space pod that Natalie arrived in, her AI took that over, and the two of them together flew into the vortex. So Natalie's off in the vortex looking for her pops. Meanwhile, here, Tal Rose now, he flies out to where Allie is to try to stop Allie. He uses the laser vision. It, like, did nothing. And then Allie ran up on him. She started stealing his power, like sucking his life force energy. And then Jonathan ends up flying up into the atmosphere to go save Uncle Tal. And then he did because he caught Allie with a good punch because she didn't see it coming. And then after that, he grabbed Tal Rose, and then he flew back to Earth. So now they're just like, well, shit, you know, like, we don't know what to do now because nobody can stop him. You know, nobody can stop her. She's too powerful. And then that's when Clark got the idea. He was like, you know, he's like, I'm powerful. He was like, I can stop her. And they're like, how? Like, you have no power. And then he comes up with the idea. He had Tal Rose fly him up to the sun. And he was just like, look, there's an issue with my cells being able to absorb sunlight energy. So instead of me doing the filter thing where I'm going to be on Earth and have the sun's UV rays filter itself through through the ozone and the atmosphere to power me up, I'm just going to take a bath in the sun directly so I can charge up again. So that's what Taro did. Taro dumped him into the sun, and now Clark is in the sun, you know, like absorbing the sun's power, trying to re-strengthen himself. Natalie ends up finding her father, and then when she finds him in the vortex, he was just like, hey, Nat, did you bring the X-Kryptonite? And then she was like, no. She said, I didn't get your message. She said, I didn't get the whole message. She said, the message that I got from you was basically, she said, the only thing I got was for me to bring the pod. She's like, I ain't hear nothing about no XK. And then he said that the whole point of the XK was, he said, we're going to detonate the X-Kryptonite in the vortex space between both worlds, and hopefully we can blow it up and like separate them. Seeing as how they didn't have any X-Kryptonite, they used the X-Kryptonite that was powering their suits to power the pod. And then after they did that, they put all their energy into the pod, and then they sent the pod to the vortex where Allie was. The pod exploded, and then when the pod exploded, it severed Allie's connection from completely merging the worlds together. See, but by that point, the circle part of the Earth was already inside the square part of the Earth. The full merger just hadn't taken place yet because the Irons family stopped the full merger. And now Allie's upset because they broke her concentration. And she flat out said, she was like, you know, you've interrupted me for the last time. So now she's on her way to go kill the Irons family. Lois now found Chrissy. But then when she found Chrissy, you know, like Bizarro Chrissy was trying to talk to her. And that was funny because Bizarro Chrissy had a device that allowed her to communicate to people from the other world. And then when she was with her, when Lois was with her dad, and then her dad disappeared and went back to his world, Bizarro Chrissy had said something backwards. The translator device was talking, and it was like, oh, he straight up disappeared. And I thought that was like hilarious because, like, you know, she actually talks that way. But then you know, then Chrissy disappeared, and when, you know, it was crazy because both Chrissy's, like Bizarro Chrissy and Never Chrissy never actually never met or had a conversation where they were talking to each other. And I thought that was a little disappointing. There is one thing that did disappoint with the episode, but we'll get to that in the end. So then, like I said, so Lois, like, she's still outside, and then while she goes back outside, and then she bumps into Kyle because Kyle ended up on Bizarro Land, and now Kyle is talking to Lois, and then Kyle was just like, oh, I deserve to be here away from my family, because his entire family stayed on regular Earth. Only Kyle got sent over to the other world, and then he was just like, this is what I deserve, you know, because I cheated on my wife and I broke my family. And then Lois had to talk him off the ledge, and then the two of them were just standing in town square just waiting for whatever's going to happen. So now that the general got transported back to the regular world, he went to the Kent farm, and then when he went to the Kent farm, he saw the boys, and then Bizarro Lois was still there. And it was so weird for me because Bizarro Lois basically didn't do anything or say anything. She just stood there making faces. She didn't try to talk to anybody. She didn't walk up to Jonathan and put her hand on Jonathan's face because her Jonathan went to the dark side, but this is a good Jonathan. There was just nothing. I didn't see, like, if you were going to send our Lois over to Bizarro World, there was no reason to send, like, Bizarro Lois over here if she wasn't going to do nothing. There was no point in doing it if she wasn't going to contribute to anything that happened with her. She was just standing there with the wig on, just watching. You know, like, I thought that was a little ridiculous. So, but then, you know, like when the grandfather showed up, the boys started freaking out, and they were just like, oh, Dad went up to the sun, you know, to power up, and then he's gonna die, and blah blah blah. And they started freaking out, and then that's when the general, that's when he turned over and he was like, boys, and he's like, your father, you know, he's the best of all of us. And then he gave this whole speech. He's like, you wouldn't believe what I've seen working for the DEO or the DEA. He said, I've seen countless worlds, and I've seen heroes on all these worlds. He's like, I've seen leagues of superheroes, and your dad, you know, he said, I've seen leagues of superheroes with many heroes, and although this Earth just has your dad, we're lucky we have him because he's the best of all of them. And as soon as they said that shit, I rolled my eyes completely. Like, because now all of a sudden, and I should probably just get into this now and get it out the way. So that was their way of saying Superman and Lois, the TV show, is not connected to the Arrowverse as far as Earth Prime is concerned. Superman and Lois takes place on its own Earth, separate from Earth Prime with the Flash and Supergirl and blah, blah, blah. This explains why Supergirl never gets talked about or shows up. This explains why there are no other heroes besides John Henry Irons. And it's supposed to explain all the stuff, why Lucy's the way that Lucy is and blah, blah, blah. And That's a nice little cover up, but you're not going to fool me, and I call bullshit. And the reason, this is why I call bullshit. I read an article yesterday where one of the writers or the creators, I forgot the person's name, I should have wrote it down, but he said in his article that when they first wrote Superman and Lois, he said that they wrote scenes and they shot scenes. He said that they actually shot scenes of Kara and Clark having a conversation. He said that they wrote a scene where Lois was supposed to have a picture of Kara on her desk and, at the Daily Planet. And they wrote the show based on being in the Arrowverse on Earth Prime, but they never got the word from the higher ups of whether or not that was actually true. And they kept being told by Warner Brothers executives to not use certain references to other shows. Their plan all along was for it to be together. He said that along the lines, they decided that Superman and Lois was going to be its own thing on its own Earth, separate from the Arrowverse. And here's why that's bullshit. Because last season, when John Diggle showed up to help, and he even brought it up when he showed up to give them the device that was supposed to make the bomb that was going to kill Superman. And then he had the conversation with John Henry Irons, and he had the conversation with the general. John literally said, because the thing is, the producers, they're trying to pretend now, like, oh, we've been our own show all along. Like, we've always been separate from the Arrowverse. But there was a line in that episode where Diggle was talking to the general. He specifically said to the general, he made a reference of Oliver being dead. He made a reference of Oliver Queen being dead. And then he said that, in regards of killing Superman, because again, at the time, the general wanted to kill Superman. The general and John Henry Irons was going to kill Superman. And then John said to him, he said, hell, Oliver wouldn't want to do this because he would say that Superman's the best that we have. And then his exact quote was, hell, all the heroes would have said that. And now all of a sudden the general's like, oh, although we only have your father on this world. Bullshit. So this is what basically happened. Like this is the truth about what basically happened. The show had every intention on being on Earth Prime in the Arrowverse, connected with all the other heroes, which is why scenes like that took place. When they found out about the CW sale, and they found out that the CW was going to cancel all the shows, they used that situation of, they're just like, well, shit, if you're canceling all the shows now, here's our chance to get out of the Arrowverse and kind of escape that whole thing. Because, and this does make sense from a producer standpoint. If the Arrowverse is going to no longer exist because the CW is going to cancel all the shows, why would you continue to write your show based on a universe that's about to be canceled from the network? You kind of want to move your show off of that platform and get your show into its own private thing, because you're at least going to have a third season, and you don't want to have to deal with the fallout of all these other shows being canceled. So they use the CW sale as a way to get themselves out of the Arrowverse box and into its own box so they can do their own thing and they don't have to worry about it. But at the same time, and that's fine, because like I said, I understand that. I completely understand that. That makes perfect sense, and that's perfectly fine. But stop trying to act like y'all was on y'all own Earth from day one, because y'all, the Diggle thing, y'all plan. And he even said, that was the plan until the plan got changed. And the only time the plan got changed was when the CW sale happened. So now that we've got that out of the way, oh, and by the way, the John Diggle that showed up and had that conversation, apparently that's not John Diggle from the Arrowverse, from Earth Prime. That's John Diggle from whatever Earth Superman's on, but he still made the line, which is stupid. So anyway, as I said, so that's out of the way now. The show's on its own. It's removed itself from the Arrowverse. Because the Flash is still going on, there's still hope that Earth Prime Superman can still pop up on episodes of The Flash now, since he has no ties in to whatever's going on Superman and Lois. The Superman from Earth Prime, he can show up whenever the hell he wants. So hopefully that happens somewhere in season 9. Back to the show now. So again, so the Irons family, they're in the vortex, and Allie's on her way to kill them because, they severed her connection and they can't get away from her because they used all their power, to do the bomb thing. So just before Allie gets to them and she's about to kill them, Superman, who was taking a bath in the sun, he heard that conversation and he flew in like a bat out of hell. He flew into the void. Now, see, this was crazy to me. This goes to show how powerful Superman is. He flew from the sun into the vortex, and he saved the Irons family right before Allie killed them. brought them back to Earth, put them on the floor, so now they're nice and safe. He flew back into outer space, bumped into Allie, had a fight with Allie. Allie tried to use her power to absorb Superman's energy, but because he was so full of like solar sun energy, because he was overly powered with sun energy, her trying to absorb all that power overloaded her, and then she got weakened to the point where Superman is so strong at this point, he basically punched her into two people. And he hit her so hard she split into two people. She's now once again Bizarro Alley, and she's regular Alley. And then he let her drop out of the sky. He let both of them drop out of the sky for a little bit, watched them. Then it's like, I think I'll save them right about. Then he flew in at the last second, caught them, put them both with the iron zizzes. They held them and kept both of them apart. Then he flies back into outer space. And when he was in outer space and his suit that had like the solar energy like flowing through, that was cool. That was cool to see. Then you see the round Earth with the square Earth like merged as one. He's so strong at this point with all that solar power and all that solar energy. He literally punched the Earth, and he punched the Earth so hard it separated itself from the Bizarro world, and he put both Earths back to where they belong. And then when he landed, and then after he merged, like this dude literally just like separated two planets. And then after he separated both planets and the Bizarro world went back to where it was, and our Earth, their Earth went back to where it was, he lands in the middle of town square, and then all the people start clapping and cheering for him. And they're just like, oh my God, Superman saved the day. And I'm like, technically the Irons family saved the day, but I'm gonna let y'all have that one. Kyle came back, he saw his family, he hugged and embraced his family. And then everybody was like cheering Superman and, clapping and everything. Then Lois looked at Superman, they gave him the look, and then that was it. And then we went to commercial. When we came back, so that ended pretty quickly. So the Earth is saved. Lois went to Lois went to the alleys because both of them are locked up in the same cell together. And that was weird to me because I'm like, you just gonna keep a Bizarro Alley just rotting in prison? And then that made me think, and see, this was the one thing about the episode that kind of disappointed me. We never saw, like, now that both Earths are put back to normal and everything's back to normal. We saw a clip in the end where Tal-Rho, because Jordan had saved his life, Tal-Rho bought Jordan and Jonathan brand new cars, which pissed Clark off. And then when they were just like, oh, what happened to Uncle Tal anyway? They showed Tal-Rho, he flew to the Bizarro world, and now he's living and hanging out on the Bizarro world, trying to find his wife, Lana Rho, because remember, the Tal-Rho version, the Bizarro Tal-Rho, he's dead. So now he's on Earth searching for family. He's on their Earth looking for family and looking for his wife. But, which means the portal to the Bizarro world is still around. Like, the portal to the Bizarro world has not closed yet, and we can go back and forth between the Bizarro worlds. Now, this is the part that I thought was weak, and this is the one aspect of the finale that I did not like. If that's the case, and if the portal is still open, and if we can still travel back and forth between the Bizarro world and regular world, what happened to Bizarro Jonathan? What happened to Bizarro Lana? What was the fallout from Bizarro Lois? Like, where's Bizarro Chrissy? Why was there no conversation of, now that Allie's been defeated and Bizarro world is safe and everybody's back to normal, what happened to Bizarro, to Bizarro Lucy? Like, where was Bizarro Lucy? There was even no conversation with Bizarro Lois talking to Bizarro Jonathan about, oh, your brother's in prison, because he went to the dark side and your father's dead. It's just me and you now, Jordan. Like, there was nothing that, like, we don't know anything that happened to anybody on the Bizarro world. Like, they didn't get any closure. They didn't get any storyline endings. Like, there were no happy endings to anybody on Bizarro world. And I was just like, well, that was kind of like a missed opportunity, because it would have we spent so much, like, the whole damn season was about the Bizarro world. It would have been nice to know what happened to these people. Like, what happened to their Earth? What happened to their planet? What happened to these characters that went through all these things? Did we have a funeral for their Superman? Like, there was just a lot of questions that were left on the table that I didn't like that. Like, that was one thing I didn't like. But anyway, say la vie. So Tal-Rho, he's on Bizarro world now, and he's trying to bang Lana Rho. John Henry Irons, he's sitting in a diner, and their Earth's Diggle shows up. He pops up, he sits down, and he has a conversation with him. John Diggle tells him that Intergang was responsible for killing their Earth's John Henry Irons. And he said, with your help, I want to know why Inner Gang killed him. So now John Henry Irons is going to team up with John Diggle in season 3 to try to find out, who his doppelganger's killer was. So in a sense, he's basically going to try to solve his own murder. and with that being said, I really would like a show. I would like an Irons. I want a Steel show with John Henry Irons and Natalie. Like, I need a Steel show like ASAP. So, I guess that also means John Diggle's going to be an integral part of season 3, which I'm fine with, because it's like, at least there's probably still hope for him to become the Green Lantern. But we'll see. We'll see what happens, because there are a lot of things that John Diggle said. He even said that, because even John Diggle from Superman and Lois, he did mention that him and his family moved to Metropolis after they buried Oliver, but yet we're not on the Arrowverse, we're a different Earth. So bullshit. So so that was that, and that's nice. Like I said, the storyline that they're setting up for Irons is actually really cool, and I do want to see that. The town ended up throwing a party for Superman, and then Lois went to Chrissy and told Chrissy that Clark was Superman. Chrissy's reaction was priceless. And when they were at the party celebrating Superman and celebrating the fact that they're all safe, Chrissy kept awkwardly staring at Clark the whole time, which I thought was funny. And, I actually like Chrissy. Chrissy grew on me this season. I do have to say that. Like, she's a good actress. And, like, her reactions are awesome. Natalie and Irons, they were just walking through the town eating yogurt, and then that's when Natalie had said to him, she was like, "Oh, the drive up here for shawarma or whatever the hell they were gonna get." She was like, "The drive here was definitely worth it after all." And that was the last time we saw Natalie for the rest of the show. And I'm like, really? Like, that was her final scene. Like, nothing else happened with Natalie. Nothing with her suit. Nothing with her dad. Nothing with the two. It's just like, that was it. Like, nothing else going on with no conversation between Natalie and Lois, which is how this season started. And I'm just like, that fell a little flat. At the very least, I would have liked to have seen a conversation with Lois and Natalie. Like, there are so many things in this episode. There were so many awesome things in this episode, but at the same time, there were also so many things that got left on the table, and that was one of them. So like I said, so then going down the line, Jonathan was with his girlfriend. Jordan, he had a conversation with Sarah. Sarah apologized for being a bitch and for dumping him now that she knows the family secret, which Kyle still doesn't know. Lana and Clark had a conversation. And then Lana had a conversation with Kyle. She told Kyle, she was like, "We're not getting back together, so you might as well get over it." And then the two of them had a final dance, and then everything was hunky-dory and magical, and then that was it. Towards the end, then Superman took his entire family to the middle of the ocean, and then he built a third Fortress of Solitude. So we got one Fortress of Solitude, the original that's in the Arctic. We have a second Fortress of Solitude that belongs to Tal Rho, which is in the desert, and Clark just built a third Fortress of Solitude that's in the ocean. And he said that this Fortress of Solitude would be for their entire family, for all of them to go to when they want to get away. He mentioned to Jonathan that his mom wants to meet him, and she has some technology, Kryptonian ideas. So Jonathan's probably going to get like a Superman techno suit, like in season 3. He's not going to have power, but he's going to have like artificial powers, so that's going to be a whole thing. And then they just sat and watched as like the Crystal Palace just went up, and that was it. So, so that was it. That was the end of Superman and or Lois, and thank you for tuning in. So, once again, not knowing the aftermath of certain characters was a letdown. But with that being, finding out that Superman and Lois is no longer on, I'm not even going to say ever, it's no longer on Earth Prime now that they're on their own Earth. That sucks a little bit, but, I'll get over that one. Like, that's not really that big a deal. Overall, the episode was dope. Like I said, I liked him powering up, I liked the whole strength thing with the sun and everything, which means I wonder, is he going to have these enhanced powers going forward? And I look forward to seeing Inner Gang and a storyline based more on John Henry Irons, and to see where we go when we get the Superman and Lois season 3. So like I said, thanks for tuning in, guys. So let me know, who is your MVP for this season? To me, it was the Irons family. Both John Henry Irons and Natalie, because if it wasn't for John Henry Irons and Natalie, more specific Natalie at times, the Kent family would have died a long time ago. Like the Irons family was the breath of fresh air during this entire season. Lucy came back at like the last second. We got like a 2-second clip with Lucy, which, we could have did more. We could have did more. That's all I'm saying, people. We could have did more. But overall, who was your MVP? Like, who did you like this season? Who was your favorite this season? Did you like the Bizarro storyline this season? Are you happy that Superman and Lois is not part of the Earth Prime Arrowverse? Do you like them being its own thing? Do you wish they would have been together? And are you excited for season 3 and where everything goes from there? So hit me up on Instagram, hit me up on Twitter, always on YouTube, where you can share your questions, comments, and or concerns. Hit that notification bell, because we still got the season finale of The Flash coming up, and we're still doing Miss Marvel for all of you Marvel fans, because I think we got 3 more episodes to go for that, and we're going to review that one until Doom Patrol starts on HBO Max. So thank you for tuning in, guys. Like I said, I enjoyed this season of Superman and Lois. I love me some Superman and Lois. I'm looking forward to season 3 of Superman and Lois and for all the goodness that will unfold. Let's pray that, it doesn't get canceled after season 3 and it gets moved over to HBO Max, because the season's already going to be up on HBO Max in about a week anyway, so there's hope for that. And Stargirl comes back late in October. We'll be waiting for Stargirl. So that was it, guys. So until then, until next time, up and away for the final time. Keep hope alive for truth and or justice. And until next season for Superman and Lois, I'm out this. Peace!